When I was growing up, my mom always told me that family came first. I heard that phrase so often that it became almost a mantra in our household. She was a single mother, raising me alone after my dad left when I was young. I admired her for everything she did, working 2 jobs, juggling bills, and somehow making sure I never went without. Despite everything, she kept reminding me that all her sacrifices were for me, that one day it would all pay off when I went to college and got a good job. I believe her because, after all, she was my mom. It wasn't until much later that I realized her version of family first meant something entirely different. As I grew older, my mom's insistence on saving for my future became a regular topic of conversation. She would tell me to save my money, work hard, and prepare for the day I would leave for college. She emphasized how important it was to be financially independent and responsible. So, from the time I was 15, I got part-time jobs, working at a fast food place after school, mowing lawns during the summer, babysitting on weekends. Every paycheck, no matter how small, I diligently put away in a savings account. I was proud of myself. I was doing everything right, just like my mom had taught me. By the time I graduated from high school, I had saved up a decent amount of money, enough to cover the first year of tuition at a state university. I was planning to work part-time during college to cover living expenses, and I knew I'd probably need to take out some loans eventually. But for now, I felt confident. My hard work had paid off, and I was ready for the next chapter of my life. A few weeks before I was set to leave for school, my excitement was at an all-time high. I had chosen a university just a couple of hours away, close enough to visit home, but far enough to feel independent. I couldn't wait to start this new journey, and I thought my mom was excited for me too. After all, this was what we had both been working toward for years. Then, one afternoon, I decided to check my bank account to ensure everything was in order before heading off to school. I logged in, expecting to see the balance I had been building for years. Instead, I saw something that made my heart drop. The balance was zero. At first, I thought it had to be a mistake. Maybe I had clicked on the wrong account or the bank system was down. But after refreshing the page and double-checking the account details, it became clear that this was no error. My entire savings, all the money I had worked so hard to save, was gone. Panic set in. I called the bank, hoping for some kind of explanation. Maybe there had been an unauthorized withdrawal or a glitch in the system. But after talking to a representative, I learned the truth. The withdrawals had been made over the course of the past month. By my mom. She had cleared out my account without telling me, taking every last dollar I had saved for college. I couldn't believe it. I felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. How could she do this? Why hadn't she said anything? My mind raced with questions, but I knew I couldn't get answers from the bank. I needed to talk to my mom. When I confronted her later that day, I was met with a response that left me even more stunned. She didn't deny taking the money. In fact, she seemed almost indifferent, as if she had done nothing wrong. I needed it for the house, she said matter-of-factly, as if that explained everything. She didn't apologize or even acknowledge the fact that this money had been earmarked for my future, for the education I had spent years preparing for. I was speechless. I couldn't wrap my head around what was happening. My mom had always told me that everything she did was for me, for my future. But now she had taken away the very thing I had been working toward. She had taken my future from me without a second thought. When I pressed her further, asking why she hadn't told me, why she hadn't asked me for help if she was struggling, she became defensive. She said that as my mother, she had the right to do what was best for our family, and that I shouldn't be questioning her decisions. In her mind, the money wasn't really mine. It was hers to use as she saw fit. She had been the one raising me. After all, so if she needed the money for family expenses, it was her right to take it. I was furious, heartbroken, and confused all at once. I had trusted her completely, believed her when she said she wanted the best for me. But now it was clear that her version of family first didn't include my future. With my savings gone, I had no choice but to take out more loans than I had originally planned. I had to scramble to find a part-time job before even stepping foot on campus. And the stress of figuring out how to pay for tuition, books, and housing was overwhelming. I felt like I was drowning, and there was no one to pull me out. As I started college, my relationship with my mom became strained. I tried to keep things civil, but the hurt and betrayal were always there. Just beneath the surface, I couldn't look at her the same way anymore. I couldn't shake the feeling that she had stolen something from me. Not just money, but the trust one had placed in her. Over time, I distanced myself from her. I needed to focus on surviving college and building a life for myself. And I couldn't do that with the weight of her actions hanging over me. I kept our conversations short and avoided visiting home as much as possible. It was painful, but necessary. I couldn't let her drag me down any further. For a while, things were quiet between us. I focused on school, worked multiple jobs to make ends meet, and tried to keep my head above water. It wasn't easy, but I was determined to succeed, despite the setbacks. Then, one day, a few years after the incident, I received an envelope in the mail from my mom. At first, I thought it was just a card or maybe some belated apology for what had happened. But when I opened it, I was greeted with something entirely different, a bill. It was a detailed statement of expenses for my stepsister's college dorm. My mom had remarried shortly after I started college, and her new husband had a daughter who was about to begin her freshman year at a local university. We had never been close, and I hadn't even met her more than a few times. But apparently, my mom now expected me to help cover her college costs. I stared at the bill in disbelief. After everything that had happened, after she had cleared out my savings without a word, she now had the audacity to ask me to pay for my stepsister's dorm? It was as if she had learned nothing, as if she still saw me as someone she could use whenever she needed to fix her financial problems. I was livid. This wasn't just a financial issue anymore. It was about respect, about boundaries. My mom had shown me time and time again that she didn't care about my needs, my future, or my well-being. She only cared about herself and her new family. I didn't respond to the bill. I didn't call her or text her. I simply ignored it, knowing full well that I would never be a part of that equation again. I had spent years trying to move past what she had done, trying to rebuild my life after she had taken so much from me. I wasn't going to let her pull me back into that toxic dynamic. In the end, I realized that I couldn't change her. I couldn't make her understand the damage she had caused or the hurt she had inflicted. The only thing I could do was protect myself, move forward, and cut ties where necessary. Family first? Maybe, but not this family. Not anymore. As the days passed after receiving that bill, I found myself reflecting on everything that had happened between my mom and me over the years. The moments of trust I'd had in her felt like they belonged to someone else's life. Like I'd been a different person back then, someone naive, too willing to believe that family meant unwavering loyalty and sacrifice. But that idea had been shattered the day she drained my bank account, and any hope of repairing that bond had crumbled when she sent me that bill for my stepsister. I realized something crucial. Family isn't just about shared blood or history. It's about respect, boundaries, and mutual support. My mom had shown me time and time again that she didn't respect those things when it came to me. She had taken what was mine and expected me to keep giving, without ever considering the toll it was taking on my life. I knew then that I couldn't keep holding on to the idea of family just because society told me I should. Sometimes, the healthiest thing you can do is let go. It was a painful truth to accept, but it was also liberating. I wasn't obligated to keep putting myself in a position to be hurt again. I had a right to protect my own future, my own well-being. That realization allowed me to take a deep breath and make peace with the decision I had made. To cut ties with my mom, to focus on my own life, and to stop feeling guilty for it. I had spent so many years questioning myself, wondering if I was wrong for pulling away. But I wasn't. I was doing what I needed to do to survive. And there was nothing selfish about that. In the years since, I built a life I'm proud of. I've created my own definition of family with the people who have supported me, who have respected my boundaries, and who have stood by me through the hard times. I've learned that it's okay to walk away from those who hurt you, even if they share your blood. And I've learned that self-preservation isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. I'm no longer haunted by the past, by the betrayal, or by the pain my mom caused. It's part of my story, but it doesn't define me anymore. I've moved on, and I've found peace in knowing that my life is mine to live, free from the expectations and manipulations of those who never truly had my best interests at heart. In the end, I made the choice to choose myself, and that's something I'll never regret.